You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Rolling. Don't use any of this. Don't
Okay, carry 3.
Hi.
They love you. You know.
This is Princess Leia Organa. You're listening to Planet Leia.
Permission is granted to land on Planet Leia. Brought to you by Fantha Tracks. Here are your hosts, Clair Henry and
Johanna, Nybelius.
We need a little bit of audience participation, by the way, okay? So, hello everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Celebration and our episode of Planet Leia. And my name's Clair Henry, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Johanna, Lindén, Nybelius.
And we are here to talk about all the things to do with women of Return of the Jedi. Now, let's just start by sort of giving everybody a little bit of a brief description about ourselves. What do you think?
Yes. Should we go with age first? It's not much age, of course, between us, but...
Okay.
No.
Let's say I'm hitting a very special birthday, not on May the 4th, unfortunately, but on May the 17th, I turn 50. I'm quite proud of that. Thank you. So you can work out from there where my Star Wars love started from. And obviously the original trilogy, I was there with my Star Wars husband. Give a wave, everybody, please. There you go. This is my Star Wars husband, Andrew. And Gate Boy and Gate Girl, as we were called, went to the Tonic Cinema in Bangor in County Down, Northern Ireland, to watch this new space film. I walked away from it, and there was one scene, Princess Leia in the trash compactor, sorting out all the fellas and telling them what to do. Boss. Absolute boss. That was it. I was sold. And from then on in, Andrew and I played Star Wars in primary school. We had a little tree in the back of the school where we were allowed to, well, we weren't allowed to, we just went and did it anyway. I was Princess Leia, you were? You were usually Han. And then we had a Chewbacca. We had a blonde boy who was Luke Skywalker. And then we had somebody that was rather tall, and we called him Chewbacca. You know, let's be all stereotypical here. So that's where my love of Star Wars started from. What about you?
Well, I'm a bit younger. I will not say how much. A bit, tiny bit. But anyway, I watched the films on TV in the 90s. And then with the prequels, I got really all hooked in. And unlike Claire, I didn't have any Star Wars friends, so it was all about finding people online when all the online communities were going off and all the speculations. And I met some of my best friends, except for these lots, of course, through the online communities. And also, when you get to the prequels and you have Amidala, both her wardrobe, and she's actually she's the queen, she's the senator later on. I loved it. So I will say the originals were my first love, but it was the prequels that turned me into a huge fan.
When the prequels were on, I was at university getting very drunk. I'm not going to lie. I did watch them, and I did drag my then boyfriend, now husband, we got into the press screening for The Phantom Menace. You were hungover and fell asleep. and I watched them. So no. I got into the prequels just a little bit later than that, to be fair. So, you know. And as you can see from our beautiful pictures, that we are massive Star Wars nerds. So anybody who hasn't listened to the podcast, which I hope you're all going to do now, aren't you? Yes, Claire. Yes, Johanna.
We should maybe talk a bit about the podcast, just a quick. We tried to actually do our first recording of a podcast in Chicago at Celebration in 2019, but then it was a bit on and off. We weren't really sure what we were really talking about, more the fact that we were female Star Wars fans. But then, a couple of years later, we really settled down and we're going to do Star Wars all from a female point of view. So we've been talking a lot about the female behind the scenes, on screen, and of course analyzed all the series and all the new material coming from a female point of view. That's what we do.
So it's good to get it, isn't it? Yeah. Cheer for the girls.
Yeah.
And so we've focused on X-Wing, we've focused on pilots, we've focused on planets. We
Weddings?
Weddings, because Johanna got married last year, and Princess Leia's marriage came out, and we saw the dress and everything. So can we give Johanna a big congratulations?
Yes.
Well done in your wedding.
Thank you.
But he's not here, and he still hasn't watched Star Wars.
He's not seen a single film. I got him to see Andor and liked that, and now I have the problem that I want to show him Rogue One, but then I'm going to spoil the ending, so...
I think he knows, probably.
No, he
fair.
doesn't. He doesn't.
And he's your husband.
Yes, let's just say this. When The Mandalorian was on, it was like, oh, Mandalorian, that's the fat one, isn't it? Was his reaction.
Oh,
Yeah.
not so good.
No.
No, definitely not. So
He's a long way to go.
Yeah, in the podcast we talk about our news, what we've been doing recently, etc. Of course, the big news is celebration. Have we all had a good celebration so far? Who's got plantar fasciitis in their heels and can't walk anymore? Oh, people of a certain age, put your hand up. Highlights for celebration. Well,
what I love with celebration, it's here to meet people, but I love hanging around. Now we are on the upper stage of the Excel Center, where you have the fan stage, the university stage, and the Holonet, because I've been doing all of these smaller, really niche panels, and it's so much fun.
I know.
I was in a really deep, and that's also a pod, the Star Warsologist did a panel about Endor, the Empire, and history of resistance. It was like a PhD students, a professor, all about the philosophy behind rebellion and rebels and resistance. It was like, whoo, that's heavy, but it was so good.
I think I might have felt a little bit inadequate like that. Just like last night when we did Making Tracks with Mr. Mark Newbold at the back there, we had Vivian Lyra Blair. Can I just say, Mark, should she not have been on here today rather than yesterday with you? Totally. We're going to get her on, aren't we? Well, I'm 50 years old and I felt totally inadequate after meeting her last night. That girl is going to be some sort of superstar. So her on Making Tracks has been a highlight. I have to say, we haven't actually seen each other in the flesh.
No. Since Chicago
celebrations.
Yeah.
So we see each other on Zoom all the time and chat and what you did, what have you bought, but that sort of stuff.
Have you bought anything on this celebration now?
Could somebody escort my husband out of the room now? Marcus, please leave the room. Or just don't make any comment whatsoever. All right? It's a deal? Okay. You ready for this? I'm so embarrassed because this is only half of it. So, first of all, we hit Heroes and Villains, didn't we?
Like, I haven't been to a celebration in 4 years. All my handbags had broken down. The last one actually broke down as I was packing for leaving. The snap of my Han Solo handbag just fell off. So, of course, I needed a handbag.
Show it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So,
Look
I
at
got
that thing of beauty.
Leia.
Look at that thing of beauty. Fabulous. So,
my husband might think I have a bit too many handbags.
oh, my husband knows I've got a problem.
But now I told him they are all broken. So
it's taken up half of our room, let me tell you. So, just as we were walking to Heroes and Villains, we went to Sailstone jewellery shop.
Yeah. And she started buying.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I
and then
did.
I said, I need that one as well.
Yes, I did. So we both bought the limited edition Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary necklace. People, if you've not bought it, go and buy it. It's beautiful. I'm going to wear that on my 50th birthday when I'm at Cafe Mambo. That's all I'm going to say. Then it's a little bit of a surprise to my husband, the one at the top in the centre, because I actually haven't got it on my phone yet. Hello, darling. Yeah, I went to Rhino Shield and I bought a phone case.
Yep.
I might have bought two.
Possibly,
but that's a rumour that nobody needs to know about. Then, of course, as you can tell, I'm a huge Lego fan. But I bought the Princess Leia Bosch helmet because I had to, because it is absolutely badass. Proper badass. So Sophie, my daughter, is going to build it for me. And I'm going to do it in a time-lapse, and that's going to go on Fantha Tracks YouTube as well. Oh, I forgot about these. I bought the brickheads as well. And I only bought the brickheads for one thing.
Is it the Wicket?
Totally.
Yes.
Not. Yeah, that little Leia in the middle. You cannot buy it separately. They're absolute buggers. So I had to buy the whole set. So if anybody wants a Luke Skywalker, Lando, R2-D2 or Wicket, you know, please be my guest. Take it. My house is full of enough stuff. And then finally
You hit the show store.
Yes, I hit the show store. I took the order, but I hit the show store. And all I bought were a pair of mugs.
But you got me this Daughter of Ferrix t-shirt. They're like, I need to have the Daughter of Ferrix t-shirt.
It's beautiful. We've got a Daughter of Ferrix at the back there.
Yes.
Thank you. Peace out. Happy. Yeah. So I bought mugs. I bought t-shirts. I bought pins. I bought...
Let's just say we've been doing a bit of a shopping spree.
If you listen to our podcast, you'll know that Star Wars shopping is our thing.
Yeah.
You know, you just need to take a look at what we're wearing. So we've had a busy celebration, going around doing things, but let's get down to business. It's
the Women of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Now, do you want to tell them my big faux pas when we first put in for the podcast?
Yes, apparently the computer didn't have the right font. So, but we have switched computers now, so instead of a very squiggly handwriting thing, we did get a nice Star Wars font.
So, we're going to start off with our Women of Star Wars. Now, obviously, let's take a look. Strong women. Okay, take a look at all the women in this picture.
Yeah.
What we do need to say is that Return of the Jedi has got the most female characters in the original trilogy, which is quite amazing. And until you see how many they are.
Yeah. But it's still a progression, like in A New Hope, Beru, and the Tanika sisters, that was basically it. Yes, and you know how much of an impact they have in the film.
She poured blue milk. Yep. Well done.
And then you get an empire where at least on Hoth you have the women who are helping out with the evacuation and like clearing the transport.
But they looked a bit like Leia clones, didn't
yes.
they? There was like somebody somewhere had like collected all these Leias.
They probably got some spare... They didn't have much money. If someone, hey, we all have these uniforms in white with the quilted vests, you can take the lot. And we go for it.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
And as everybody knows, the original trilogy, certainly the first two films, they were slightly on a little bit of a budget and they probably had everybody in. That's just my mother messaging me going, are you really on stage? Yes, I am, Mum.
But then you get to Return of the Jedi.
And
compared to the rest, you have a lot of women. But I mean... the main character is Leia.
Totally. So just take a look at...
Some people might think it's Luke. No. Again,
it's Leia, running the galaxy, sorting out everybody else. A bit like me with all the Fantha Tracks boys, telling them what to do.
I'm more like, okay, Luke has no plan to really get him out of Jabba's palace. No. It's Leia who does it.
So this is the whole thing. Taking a look at the bottom left picture, okay? Do you honestly think that it was Luke came up with the idea, planned it all, etc., knowing what we know about Leia? No. See, I see a lot of people agreeing with us.
No, I don't think he even had a plan. He shows up, I'm a Jedi, oh, mind trick don't work. Oops.
Yeah. So it's like, okay.
And then you have Leia who has to take command, kill Jabba, do the things. And then when you get off to it's time to go to Endor, it's like, I have one thing to do. I'm going to have a chat with her dad. And Leia is the one who really has to do more of the work on the ground, literally.
This is the thing about it. So we're going to cause a little bit of controversy because Leia in Return of the Jedi, she especially... Look, there's my husband's fallen asleep. Honestly, wake up. What? Anyway, there's an evolution about Leia's portrayal in Return of the Jedi, yeah? When I was young, it was slave Leia, and we will be touching on that a bit. She's now become this
hot slayer Leia.
Okay, because people didn't want to do that. If you think about Return of the Jedi, she was enslaved. She was, and we'll talk about objectified women in a minute. But here's the strong woman right there. Do you know what? Taking control, thinking, I'm going to get this big slug. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap it around. I'm going to give it a good old yank. And I was thinking, do you know what? That's a lot of strength to do that.
Yeah, but she uses the Force. I mean,
well, and again, this is what we're thinking about, is you start to see Leia as being Force sensitive a lot in this film.
Yeah.
A lot. You start to see the progression, the lead into the thing that Luke had obviously known about.
But it's also like there are different reactions to finding out that, oh, Vader is our dad. I mean, Luke screams and jumps off a cliff. Leia is the one, oh, somehow I always knew, a lot more poised. And that's because I've always said that Leia is Vader's daughter and Luke is Padme's son. I think it's much more of Vader in Leia than in Luke.
I would agree.
But she has a bit more like she can hold her head, she can keep her head cool, which her father can't exactly, or brother. And it's like she can handle the things, and that's why she's so much more interesting, really. I mean, Luke is on his hero's journey, and a bit, it's like they forgot that Leia is on her hero's journey as well, and just by forgetting that, they actually made it more interesting because it's not so clear-cut. It doesn't follow the same formula. You can't go and read the hero's journey and say, oh, now Leia's she's meeting that person, she's going through that stage, which you can with Luke, since George Lucas based it all on Campbell's myths and all things like that. But with Leia, it's like, she has to find her way, and it's much more interesting.
And the interesting thing is it alludes to all that in the film, but actually, if you read the books by Claudia Gray, etc., if anybody's ever read the books by Claudia Gray about Leia, she absolutely captures Princess Leia and her growing up and her journey to being this leader and whatever. So yeah, I mean, the top right picture, I'm about to tell you that the evilest man in the world and the universe is your dad. Thanks very much. Move on. Yeah. I've got it. And calm and collected, isn't she?
Doesn't even tell Han about it.
No. But there's a lot
which is a bit bad, because I think you should talk to your spouse a bit more, but okay, it can be a bit to handle. It can be a bit to handle.
Recently married, can't you? You can tell she's only recently married. I tell mine nothing.
And then he sees the bank account.
He doesn't even see the bank account. I'm in charge of that. Hey, I'm a Leia. I'm a leader. He just needs to just follow along with the +1, don't you, darling? So we've led on to, the many facets. And again, I'm just going to point out in Endor, in the speeder bike, stupid Han, stupid Chewbacca, get tripped up. Who's the woman that saves the day again? Leia jumps on a speeder bike, no hesitation, off she goes.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, and then of course she's a diplomatic.
Leave them all behind.
Yes,
totally.
And then she's a bit diplomatic and befriends the Ewoks, or as we said on the panel, I was the murder bears.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Everybody needs to have a murder.
Have you ever thought about the fact that her Endor dress, the Ewok dress that she makes? They have a female-sized dress.
Why is that, Johanna?
Hanging around. And we know they want to eat the other humans.
Yeah.
Who was in that dress before Leia? Because it takes more than just a couple of hours to get that dress together. I know that from experience.
Johanna's a cosplayer, just let's put that in. She knows how much it takes to make anything, so yeah.
Yeah.
So,
that's a very forgotten woman of Return of the Jedi.
We should have added her onto the panel, shouldn't we? The forgotten woman who died for Leia. So that she had a dress. By the murder bears. I mean, that's the other thing. I'm going a bit girly now, but take a look at all those costumes that Carrie Fisher got to wear in that film. That's cool. Yeah. I really like that.
And you didn't put the Ewok village on that dress, because I love it. It's, I have made the Endor poncho and the Rebel briefings, but I still haven't made the dress.
I can't sew for toffee. I just buy it. So let's move on to this fabulous woman, Mon Mothma. Yeah. Give her a round of applause.
Give her a round of applause.
Okay, we didn't know much about her. Many Bothans died.
And Carolyn Blackiston, who is the actress, I mean, she said, well, I got the line because I could cry on cue.
Yeah, I met her.
That was basically the casting.
I met her on Star Wars Fan Fun Day, which was up in Burnley. If anybody's been to it, and if from the UK, if anybody who hasn't been to it and from the UK, it's a great mini Star Wars celebration. It's in Blackburn now, but it's absolutely wonderful. You get to see lots of different, like really niche actors and actresses, particularly from the original trilogy, which is going to be, I was going to make a really terrible pun there, thank goodness I didn't say it. But, you know, they're not going to be here for much longer, so get up there. I talked to her and I interviewed her. I've got the recording, I'm going to put it on at some point. But she is such a fascinating woman. She hadn't a clue what she was doing about it. She just walked in, she just did it. She could cry on cue. But let's talk about the character.
And I mean, we don't really know much. And I mean, in the old Legends expanded universe, they gave her quite a lot of backstory, and they gave us a lot of backstory about Bothans due to this little line.
And you read a lot of this. You see, again, I didn't.
I'm more of a Legends, like I had all the Legends books, everything, and I haven't been able to quite switch over to the new. It's not that I dislike them, it's just that I have so much knowledge about the old that like I can't like push it out and just take new information in. I'm getting older.
Welcome to my world. But the problem is it's not a problem. They are starting to, include that now into lots of different things, which is absolutely wonderful. But we didn't know much about Mon Mothma, did we? We just knew that she was this amazing leader. She stood there. She said many Bothans died for this. So, cut to Andor now. And Rogue One, and we know so much.
I would even say it was even more, and it was quite fast. I was Mon Mothma yesterday. I was walking around the floor in that costume since it's Return of the Jedi. And I've had that costume for quite a few years now. I've had it at previous celebrations. I've never had people greet me, and they don't really stop and take photos, but it's like, hey, Mon Mothma, hello, Senator. It's like, she's such a well-known character now compared to what she used to be. And even when I was at the Galaxy stage for the showcase, and you have the Ahsoka trailer, and Mon Mothma's in the trailer, and it's like everyone just cheers for her, and it's like, wow. And
I have a lot of sympathy with her. I'm going to say, if you've watched Andor,
now, I'm not finished yet.
Mother of a tea.
But I'm not finished yet.
Oh, sorry. And this is also what we do as well. Just
it usually gets cut out when we maybe do the podcast, but no. But and then I mean, I love the prequels, and I was so excited when Genevieve O'Reilly got into the sequels. But what did you get? You have her more in the books again, but in the films, she's in the background. And then, of course, Lucas cut out all the interesting plotting and behind the political scenes in Revenge of the Sith. But she was there, and I was like, yeah. And then you get Rogue One, and it's like, yay, Mon Mothma, now she's getting the leader. And now we get Andor. And like now we get her backstory, and she's just turning into a more and more interesting character.
But I think going back to your prequels, but again, I think that was because at that point in that time, they were trying to get back into a new, younger generation, and they didn't want to go deep, dark, did they, really, with all the characters? They just wanted to try and introduce
And that's why they killed Padme's character, because plotting is too hard to get on seats.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well,
we're going to talk about that one as well. That's another podcast we're going to do. I affiliate now a lot with Mon Mothma, mother of a teenager and a girl. So I feel that the struggle is real for me with her. I can see, look at the lines in that woman's face. Yeah. She's that, and again, when it says many Bothans died, is that her daughter? Do you know what I mean? This is what I feel for me, Andor and Rogue One has opened up a whole plethora of stuff about this character that we just didn't know. So that's why we said fascinating, really.
Yeah, and I really have my stomach's really knotting up just thinking about the second season of Andor when it comes. I mean, basically, she's going to lose everything. And I bet she's going to lose her daughter and everything, her whole family connection. It's like the only way out. She will be just the rebellion
turning
left.
The lights down.
Ooh.
Oh. Ooh. Ooh. Would everybody like to go, ooh? Oh! even more, who's leaning on the light switch? That's more what I need to think, probably. Is it? Well, we'll carry on.
We can carry on.
We'll carry on. Everybody happy? Yeah? Okay.
It's more like when on the pod, when they just hear us, they don't see us.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's like being back in my bedroom.
No, but I mean, what we will see, I mean, she's in quite a bit of a trouble now in season 1. I mean, she has spent all this money, but she's still not ready to make that sacrifice to really start using the tactics and the thing that her enemy. She's not prepared for violence.
No, certainly
yet.
not at the end of Andor. I mean, she's on that pathway. I think her sister's more feisty.
Oh yes,
she's definitely more committed to the cause, But again, she's the feisty one. She's not the planner, the thought process, and you can tell that in Andor. And I think it helps you to understand more about Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and I mean, she feels so lonely. I mean, now when you see her on Coruscant, she has all her allies, she has all her friends, she has all her family, and then she shows...
Hey!
Yay! We got light again.
Light. Thank you.
And then, I mean, she shows up in Return of the Jedi all alone, somber. Her dress is quite a lot more simple. Yeah. I mean, it's not Coruscant fashion anymore, even if she has, like, the trappings of her senatorial insignia and everything. It's like, yeah, this is a woman who's seen a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, what you see in Rogue One, she does take some quite... I wouldn't say bad decisions, but tough decisions as well. I mean, there she is prepared to kill if the cause needs it.
I'm not sure, and again, being a mother of a daughter, I'm not sure, knowing what she's going to be asked to do, I'm not sure I could do that with my daughter. I know that for the cause, it looks to me like she's going to have an arranged marriage, she's going to get the money for the rebellion. Would I do that? Yeah, I'm not so sure, really. Let's move on.
Yes, because...
So, we have to go with this, don't we? You have to talk. If you're going to talk about women of Return of the Jedi, you've got to talk about objectified women.
And I must say, on this celebration, when I've been walking around the hall, I think I've seen more men wearing the gold bikini than women.
Or people who identify as a woman. But yeah, definitely, there are definitely more bearded slave layers, hut slayers coming around the place.
And it's the same if you go to, like, I usually go to Narcon, which is the largest cosplay festival in the Nordic countries, and it's the same there. Yeah. And there you have all kinds of cosplays. You have a lot of animes in very skimpy clothing, but for the Leia costume, it's only guys that I see wearing the bikini.
Yeah. Oh, I did see some fabulous women dressed as slave Leia or hut slayer, whichever you want to call her. We're going to stand on the fence a bit.
For me, it is hut slayer, because I think that is a really show of empowerment. I mean, very many years, it was actually in 2005, around the release of, I was in a book about being a fan in Sweden, and actually the author there, he got to something like this: I want to see Star Wars with you Star Wars fans, and it was me and my 3 friends, female friends. He came to one of our houses and had a bottle of vodka, and we put on Return of the Jedi.
Nice.
And then he wrote about his experience, and it's like, when that scene is coming on, it's like, I think it's me who's quoted, like, oh no, it's the gold bikini again. So and the writer was a man who's like, but I like the gold bikini.
Well, you see, so I've got a really interesting take on the gold bikini, because I watched it originally in 1900 and Frozen to Death 40 years ago. And for me, she was a slave. She was captured and she was enslaved, and then she escaped. So for me, I do call her Slave Leia. But I've got a really interesting story about Carrie Fisher. So Sophie and I met Carrie Fisher, and we were getting our autograph, and I asked... I went up. Sophie was feeding Gary Fisher lots of treats. He was getting as fat as anything. And I said to her, which photograph should I choose? And she had a fag in her mouth. She had a tin of Coke in her hand. She was flicking glitter all over me at the same time. And she said, I always choose the gold bikini. And I went, what? I was expecting her to like choose, one of the empowered, powerful, women, one of those portrayals. She went, I choose the gold bikini. I looked, and I'm not going to swear because my child's here, effing awesome.
And she does.
She does. So for me, I've got that on my wall upstairs, my Leia homage. So I do go for that one. But here's a Twi'lek who always gets left out.
Yeah, you have Ula. She's Twi'lek, and where she is, and that's also, Femi Taylor, still looking awesome. Yeah.
Fabulous.
I never looked that good as she does now when I was a teenager even, so. She's a dancer, so she's great. But what I find interesting there with the Twi'leks, we haven't seen, and I know some say Twi and some say Twi'leks, for me it's Twi'leks. And for me, it's like, you never see a bad-looking female Twi'lek. You see the men, they can be fat, they can be everything, but here it's like, you have one example from the film of a female Twi'lek, and then you have the background singer as well. And basically, what you do is you take one woman of this species, and then you totally objectify and sexualize all of the women of that species, because when you see a Twi'lek and say, except for Hera, that's the one exception, the one who actually has clothing on.
Oh, well, if you think about, what do you call the Twi'lek that ran the cantina?
In Boba Fett?
In the book of Boba Fett, played by, she was in the L Word. That's the one, Jennifer Beals. Yes, and in The Mandalorian, that's it. Yeah. Exactly. So you're right.
And I know in the old legends you actually have some of those discussions. That's why I remember this. I think it's in some of either Stackpole or Alston's books about the X-Wings, where you have this female X-Wing pilot, and it's like, yeah, we are Twi'leks, we can do other things than just dancing and looking good.
Here's where to find Fantha Tracks during Star Wars Celebration Europe.
You can find Fantha Tracks in the fan displays area across the whole event, near to the Galactic Senate stage in the North Hall if you're there. Or, if you spot a Fantha Tracks shirt on the show floor, be sure to come on over and say hi. On Saturday, 8th April from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., Good Morning Tatooine, hosted by Brian Cameron with co-host Florian Bohr from Jedi Bibliothek, will be on the Holonet News Stage, room 17, along with very special guest author Adam Christopher. Also, on Saturday, 8th April from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., Desert Planet Discs, hosted by Carl Bayless and Greg Robertson, will be on the Galactic Senate stage, bringing the fan-made music of the Star Wars galaxy to the XL, focusing on Return of the Jedi, with some very special guest panelists. Saturday evening, on the River Thames, we'll see Fantha Tracks take part in Sail Barge to Celebration, a sold-out clubs-only ticketed event that is sure to bring a few surprises. On Sunday, 9th April, from 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., Start Your Engines, hosted by Paul Naylor and Mark Newbold, will be on the Holonet News Stage, room 14. And just 2 hours later, from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., on the same stage, we'll see the return of Making Tracks Live with your hosts, Mark Newbold and Mark Mulcaster. Hashtag Cantina returns Sunday night to the Indigo at the O2, and Fantha Tracks are your hosts for the VIP after party with guest DJ Atomic Blonde. If you have tickets, be sure to attend, as this is where you have a great chance of spotting some very famous faces from the galaxy far, far away, right in the crowd. Finally, on Monday, 10th April, from 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., Planet Leia, hosted by Clair Henry and Johanna Nybelius, will be on the Holonet News Stage, room 17.
Have fun, and remember, Fantha Trackers are everywhere.
These are the women who were in Jabba's palace. And let's start with the bottom right, okay?
Yarna.
So this poor woman, this is how she is described, and this is her character in the credits. Fat dancer. Sharp intake of breath. They hadn't heard of fat shaming in the 80s. And she was played by Claire Davenport. And
Yeah, and that's also the thing. I mean, it is the way, like, it is a fat shaming. You're making it as a joke. You have this gorgeous Twi'lek, and then you have the fat dancer.
yeah.
And
So-
it's going to be fun and joking. It's not like seeing that in a diverse universe as the Star Wars galaxy is, people can find other things attractive than just what we think of as attractive.
But it's quite interesting. I'm just taking a look. Just take a look at all the outfits, even Cy Snootles, who Okay, we're going to talk about the original Return of the Jedi. We're not going to talk about that special edition.
I like special editions.
It's her age.
It's her age. It's her age.
Who doesn't like that? I could cheeky fizz job.
No. Jedi Rocks is a much better number than Laptic. Nothing is happening. Let's stand still. No. Stand still and wave. Oh, what a party.
This was amazing when I was 10 years old.
Yeah, when you were 10.
When I was 10. This was amazing. She was great. The band were amazing. That song, I went straight out and bought the cassette tape. Do you know what a cassette tape is?
I know. I'm not that young.
I might even have bought an LP as well, just the 78s. No, she still doesn't know what that means.
Yeah.
But she's going to hit me in a minute, isn't she? But again, Cy Snootles, we are assuming, given the red lipstick, she's a woman. Yeah?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, we're calling her she all the time. We haven't asked her about her pronouns or what you want to choose, but I think she's generally labelled as a she.
Yeah, and then we've got...
And I loved the Tales of Jabba's Palace books because
great.
it's like... That's where you get the background. She's just trying. They just want to make it. And they end up, due to some bad decisions, singing for Jabba, which I should have known is not the best if you want to have a career in the galaxy.
So,
at least not a long one.
No, definitely not. So take a look at the top right and Bib Fortuna's girlfriend. Did you know he had a girlfriend? He had a girlfriend. And she wanted to be a musician, apparently. And you get to see her for like a blink of a second. When we decided to do this panel, we did. There is one article on Fangirl blog, and it was written by Amy Rishu about the women of Return of the Jedi. It's a really great article if you want to read it. But I don't think she was on that article.
No,
I mean, she
not.
literally is like a flash, gone. But yeah, so she wanted to be. She was a female musician apparently, and she wanted to join Jabba's band. Why would you want to do that?
Yes, especially since even the band didn't really want to be there. They just had to get money to get off Tatooine.
And apparently she witnessed Han Solo's rescue. But, you know, all these rumours.
So we're waiting for the story about how she helps Boba Fett come up from the Sarlacc.
Yeah, that's the story we're all waiting for.
I used to have, like, joking about it was Salacious Crumb who helped Boba from the Sarlacc. I even had like a fanfic plot of like Boba and Salacious going on like body adventure together at one point.
We won't spoil The Mandalorian at the minute, but I do love, there's this scene in a tree, and I just giggled my head off at that. I just thought that was excellent. So let's move on, because this, I think, might shock some people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Eve. Long before you had Eva and Wally, you had Evie or Eve 99.
So, according to StarWars.com, this droid is female. Although it was voiced by the Return of the Jedi director, Richard, and I can't say his name properly, I'm not very good with names, Marquand, I think that's how you say it. He voiced it, but if you go to StarWars.com, it's a she, okay? The most evilest, baddest person, a droid in the galaxy at that point. How could you possibly...
I would say IG-88 would probably have a bit of a...
Do you not remember the gonk droid?
Yes,
and they pull it
gonk.
down. No. How could you not? I couldn't.
Yes, that's an awful scene. That's an awful scene.
Don't do it to me.
That's why you love gonk droids, because you have them like, oh, poor gonk. But it's like, why are we so obsessed with like putting gender on droids?
It's not like you go. Brian. Brian loves droids, don't you, Brian? Brian is our one of our esteemed leaders in Fantha Tracks, and he just loves droids.
Now, I might have given name.
Well, yeah, torments and dismembers them. That's what it says in StarWars.com. I mean, just evil. So that you're identifying with that droid. Yeah, you're going with that one. And
but I mean, it's not like you go home and like, okay, I might have given some pieces of technology at home some name. I might have had a black computer called Vader for a while, things like that. And then I had it next to my sewing machine, so I put a sticker of Amidala on it and called it White Sewing Machine Amidala. So I had a black computer. And
nice.
Yeah, but still, it's not like
they were in love together.
Yeah.
I love you.
But it's not like you go home to your toaster and wonder, how do you identify? And now, sure, droids are very binary, but this is one where I think they could very well be gender fluid.
I think so, but I'm going to go home now and take a look at all my kitchen appliances and decide what I'm going to do with them. Let's move on. Now, this is another controversy. Or is this, again, described in StarWars.com as a mother. But
do we know that it's a female?
I don't know.
Just because it takes care of a baby?
Yeah. Well, we think the cuddling aspect, we're going with that, aren't we? We're going with the care bear, not the murder bear. Like, look, just before she smashes the stormtrooper's head apart, you know, I'm just going to cuddle my baby, feed them, you know, make sure they go to school.
Feed them some human flesh.
Yeah. Do you think that woman that was in that dress that Leia wore, do you think like they stored it like in salt and stuff?
Yeah, probably smoked dry cured, high up in the heat. I mean, if you'd want, I do historical recreations as well, and if you want cure, you know, when you're in that hut and you look into it where 3P is talking, I'm betting you have a lot of dried meat up.
Well,
it's the best way of dry curing. You have an open hearth and then you have the...
Ooh, not so good, really, to be fair. But, yeah, cute mother bear before she murders half the empire. I think that woman needs a deserved applause. Well done, Mum. Just like me, isn't it, Sophie? Again, and this is, okay, it's all very loosely based because, obviously, we're saying there's lots of women in Return of the Jedi.
But they are there, in the background,
Did you
in the
notice
Rebel
them?
briefing.
Have you seen them?
One?
The top left is a female pilot. Bottom, look at those women and those hairdos. My goodness. Living in the 80s.
They don't have much to go when you take the beard and the man. Like, wonder when these films were made, really.
Do you think that's Mon Mothma's sister on the left? That's what I
she was more blonde.
But she could have cut her hair and got a little bit older. So this is what we do. We put stories to these unknown characters. So we're going with Mon Mothma's sister on the left and possibly the girlfriend on the right. I'm not sure, probably. But again, women in the background, not women to the fore. That doesn't
we don't know. We don't really know their names, and they don't have any lines.
We've Googled them and we've done it all. So we'll move on to this one.
The even more forgotten
women who actually never made it.
Yeah. One of these you might have seen when you've seen Return of the Jedi, and it's the one furthest away there to your left and my right, because it's in the scene, but it's been dubbed over by a man.
I've got the name.
Silan Kotz, I think.
Yes, Sila Kott is her name, but voiced by a man.
And this was really my first pilot costume, was actually an A-Wing costume. And it's like, I watched that And I mean, now we go back to it was before you had any of the original trilogy costume books or anything. You still had to really take a look at the scene, and you don't see much. And I watched that image so much, and I had no clue it was a woman.
No, I didn't either, to be fair. And it was only when we started to delve a bit more into when we did fighter pilots episode of
really
Planet
like
Leia,
Rebel
we were
pilots,
taking a look at it.
X-wings and A-wings.
We talk more about these characters and make up a story for them, don't we, in one of our episodes. But the middle one, again, ended up on the cutting room floor. Now, you think about it, a 10-year-old girl like myself, Princess Leia, bad boss, and it would have been lovely for me to have had that sort of opportunity at that point, because there wasn't really any other films as such that had that sort of female perspective, for me anyway, from a geeky point of view, I'm not going to lie, I was a geek, no surprise.
Nice that
there.
you're coming out to us as a geek here in this room. Yeah. We are here for you.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm home. I did say that. Somebody said to me yesterday, what's the best bit about Star Wars Celebration? I said, I'm home. Except when I'm in writing. But obviously, I'm home here. I feel very happy here. And again, if you watch the behind the scenes of Return of the Jedi, you see this cutting of this woman pilot, and she's branded as old woman pilot. Again, you got to remember, it was 40 years ago. It was a different time. But old woman pilot. And
you know the worst thing is, she's probably not much more older than you are now.
I know. She looks a bit haggard, to be fair, doesn't she? But then she's a rebel pilot.
She's a rebel pilot.
She's a rebel pilot. She's done
do
a lot of stuff.
Do you know what cold and hot would do to your skin?
I know. I mean, I'm going to say that helmet's not going to do much for her hair either.
But I would say that's probably, I prefer the A-wings before the X-wings because they had green uniforms, because, very few with my skin complexion, I don't look good in orange.
No. I did buy the orange T-shirt from Heroes and Villains. Oh, sorry, I didn't tell my husband that one. So I'm going to rock orange next week when I'm back in school. The kids are not going to know what's hit them. But again, all these female characters existed, but weren't to the fore. Different time, different era, different place. But you made it as you were. When you were 10 years old, playing around in Crawfordsburn Primary School, pretending to be Princess Leia, telling Han Solo what to do, still do. And
I would say that's probably why, for me, it would have been lovely to have seen them on screen when I saw them on TV. But when I started to get really into being a Star Wars fan, the books were already there. So, I remember how excited I was. And not even going to the bookstore in the town where I live, I had to go to a larger town, and they had a shelf with Star Wars books on them. And you could put them on, and I didn't know about Expanded Universe or anything, but there were Star Wars books, and you could read, and you had all these, because the EU was very good in filling in with a lot of female characters and pilots, and I loved the X-Wing books, where you have a lot of them, and aliens and all of the things. So it was easier for me finding, hey, female pilots are out there, but it would have been lovely to see them on screen. And it was, of course, the thing that they actually put some of this footage in Rogue One.
Yes. Yeah, who likes Rogue One here? Anybody? Hands up. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. I'm going to say it's probably number 2 on my Star Wars film list. Controversial. Number 1 for you. Yeah. Controversial, I know, but, it's one of those
I've started calling it my intra-trilogy now, and I want to watch Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, and A New Hope together. That's my middle trilogy of films.
I am going to think what I'm going to do is I'm going to save Andor, not watch all of it, and I'm going to do Andor Series 1, Andor Series 2, Rogue One, and then A New Hope. I'm going to sit, I'll hide myself, I'll order pizza, and I'm not going to move. How long do you think it's going to take? 3 days?
Well, I used to do Star Wars marathons when you had with the prequels and the original trilogy and the first Clone Wars animation that they made in between episode 2 and 3, and that took I think we started at like 8 and we were done by sometime after midnight.
Oh, yeah.
8 in the morning.
I do the Lost Boys.
I had the flu.
And then the prequels. Anybody else seen the Lost Boys? Or not the Lost Boys. What do you call it? The one where they all go to Skywalker Ranch to try and find...
Fanboys.
Fanboys. Thank you, not Lost Boys. That's your mum, Keith Sutherland. You can tell it's day 4. It's been a long... But I do that. I do Fanboys and then the Phantom Menace, just at that bit when he says, and what if it's shh? And then it fell down. Sorry. But anybody got any questions?
And as I said, we have patches. Sophie, you have the patch.
Stand up. If anybody's got any questions, we've got patches to give out. So there we go. One at the back. Go for it. What was it like being meeting Carrie Fisher? I've met her 3 times. I've paid for the privilege, I'm not going to lie. Every single time is magical. It was absolutely magical. That photograph was the first time I met her. She is still to me, mad, complicated, troubled. But do you know what? With her fans, didn't matter how long you had been queuing for or what day it was, she was just amazing. She treated us with such respect. Okay, she maybe glittered you a little bit at the same time and whatever. And when she met Sophie, it was hilarious. She had Gary beside her and she gave Sophie the bag of treats. And her and I sat and had a conversation, and then you could just feel the knives coming into my back from the fans behind me who had been like queuing for hours and hours. Amazing, and something I will never forget. I actually did go into mourning when she passed away. I was absolutely devastated. I mean, I was completely devastated. I sat up at 2 o'clock in the morning and watched the funeral, etc. So she was wonderful, and to me, that's the reason why I'm in Star Wars, to be honest. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Yes, one here in the front.
I had heard about the women pilots in Return of the Jedi, and I never got to see them, so thank you very much for showing them.
Thank you.
I heard that one of the reasons their scenes were scrapped is that the death of female character, people thought it would shock the audience at the time.
Oh, I think probably it was in the Times, because if you think about it, it was in the 80s, and at that point we didn't have that sort of.
No, that women. I mean, it would probably have been a bit more different just a few years later. I'm thinking about when you've had also Alien and Aliens with Ripley. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, Leia was a strong character, but then Ripley was like, whoo,
yeah,
and it turned into another kind of female action hero. And after that, I'm starting to think we can get prepared to, yes, women can die on screen as well, but definitely probably part of the reason. And especially since that female pilot that was dubbed over by a man is being killed. I think you can actually even read which A-wing it is, and it gets shot down.
Yeah. I'm not sure that would happen now. Can you imagine anybody, a female, being dubbed over by a man at the minute? It just wouldn't happen, would it? But those were the times, those were the days.
I actually just realized there are some women, I've only heard this as a rumor, but that the royal guards are actually played by women behind the emperor as well, because the women were much better at sliding and walking like this, effortless, just sliding along. And it's just a rumor that I've heard, and I don't know. In Sweden, we have this tradition around December when we have the Lucia procession. You get dressed in white and you slide very beautiful, and we slide at least, and you sing songs alike, and that's why you always know how to slide very beautiful. And that was when I heard that yes, they could only find women who could do this sliding motion and effortlessly move around the floor. But I've never seen a confirmation of that. But I just remember that.
One more question. Anybody else got?
In the back?
We've got quite a lot at the back.
that was a huge problem for me, definitely. But in the novelization of Return of the Jedi, I've actually had this discussion today.
Oh, see all the sorts of discussions that Johanna has.
Yes, so in the novelization of Return of the Jedi, you get the impression that Luke and Leia were together with their mother at about the same time. The problem here is that it's obvious that it was for more than just Padme dying. So I would think my reading of the novelization before watching the prequels was that Luke and Leia were with their mother for a short while before Luke was taken away and Leia was taken away. But you have this, Luke is actually reminiscing about it. He has images, feelings as well of something that's a bit familiar, and he starts getting not fully fleshed images, but he gets a feeling, just like Leia says, that just images really. So for me, it goes to, okay, in that novelization, they have had about the same contact with their mother, both of them. It's just that it would have been a lot better if Lucas had given Padme a bit more time to connect with their children. It would have been better, but I get it that Luke and Leia had about the same time with their mother. It's not ideal, definitely, and not what I wanted, but it has made me understand the scene, and I can come to terms with what we saw happen in Revenge of the Sith.
Working with children, I'm a teacher, and I work with quite a lot of looked after children who are adopted. One of the things that they do is they try to, and I think they did this well, is they have this yearning to know sometimes about their real parents. And so I think that's what that conversation was about, really. It, as you said, didn't sit comfortably, did it? But then it'll all work out again. It was a bit like in Kenobi, when that came through, didn't it? You know, all those bits were tied in together and that sort of stuff. So, you know, I think in some point, at some time, maybe Dave Filoni's film, it'll all come together and we'll all work it all out, shall we? That's
but
what I'm
Padme
hoping.
dies
Big
immediately
hopes.
after she's given birth. You can't really retcon that.
But I'm just thinking about the whole. But I'm just thinking about the whole adoption and
we don't
and
know.
their
There were probably many hours on that birthing facility where they were. We don't know. We don't see that. There were many hours.
Well, you'd like to hope so. I know it's a bit more traumatic than that, to be fair. One last question, and then we will move on.
We'll have one more there. Two.
Okay, two.
Three.
Padme.
Okay, three.
Oh my God, there's too many.
I like answering questions, so we'd have three.
Endor Leia first.
One was more of a comment, and maybe because the two babies are form sensitive, they're actually remembering kind of all that.
Oh, could be.
You can always explain everything with the Force, definitely. I mean, you have that. I mean, did you read Heir to the Empire, the original Throne trilogy, with that very cringy birth scene of Jason and Jaina Solo? I mean, yes, it's something like that could have happened with Luke, Leia, and Padme as well.
Padme over there, and then the lady at the front.
I wanted to ask how you feel about what you consider to be Padme's cause of death.
Oh. There must be something that I'm on that Anakin is draining her of some kind of life energy. It must be like that because you have that interconnection.
Can't be because other than that. He is one of the most powerful Jedis, and you know. Yeah,
and I would be so disappointed with like the medical health system in the galaxy.
Could you imagine what's on her death certificate?
Yeah. So
you know.
They look like they're quite competent.
Well, actually, sorry. And so my child drained me.
Anakin is draining her of the life force.
It's the only explanation, isn't it? You know, she's.
No.
No, absolutely not. No, definitely not. She would. You fight to stay alive. Especially, you know, if you're a mother, you fight to stay alive. I know that from experiences. You want to be there for your kids. So I don't think she chose to die. I think that...
No, I totally agree.
He drained her, basically, of everything. Question at the front.
Mine is also kind of more of an observation, but something that I was thinking about when you mentioned that you saw more men dressing up as Slave Leia or
Hot Slayer, Leia.
Yeah. You see, we're both sides. That's the good thing. And look, we get along. We don't fight either most of the time.
That's actually something that I've noticed too in the 50 plus years that I've been into cosplay. Is that originally I saw a lot of men that were wearing women's costumes, but it was kind of more like playing for laughs or maybe shock value, and that that's fine. But I'm noticing more and more that men are wearing costumes, especially with Rey, or wearing a Leia costume, but they're doing it just because of embodying the costume, not so much just drag. And I'm curious if you are observing that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, very much
I
so.
love it. I love it. And I was in the Rebel Legion photo yesterday. I was with a male presenting Ewok Village Leia. He looked so nice. The dress was perfect. The hair was so not a gag. It looked so well. And I'm also in the cosplay scene, and I love this, that you can do whatever. And a lot of my friends from the Nordic base, where I'm in the Rebel Legion in Denmark, they do a lot of crossplay. Especially, it's more about the women doing male characters, because there are almost only women there. So, but it's still, I think it's so nice. And as I love it that it's not just a gag, haha, a guy in a dress. It's like, no, I'm wearing a good-looking costume.
I've seen a couple of Anakins, and they're female or non-binary or gender fluid, and I've seen some Anakin Skywalkers, and they look amazing. So I think it's lovely. I just love it. And it's a nice place to come, isn't it? And do what you want to do, be who you want to be, and that's what Star Wars is about.
And yeah, and you mentioned Rey. I saw a gorgeous male Rey as well. And I mean, I think, and I was also in a panel about queer readings, basically, of Star Wars, and they were talking a lot about how important Rey was, just finding your own way, finding your own identity. So I think it's great that you can see that you have men identifying or liking a female character so much that it's easy to dress up as that character. I mean, it's always been easier for a woman to dress up as a man because, yeah, it's cool, a tomboy and that. The other way has been much harder, and I love that we're seeing that and that we are welcoming it.
So, I think we've talked a lot about our highlights of celebration. I just want you all to have a think about one memory that you're going to take home with you. We'd like you to think about one memory. If anybody wants to share that memory, you can. You get a free patch for it if you want. Go for it at the front.
The fact that we got on the Star Wars Instagram page and Rey, Dark Rey.
Oh, yeah, well done.
Being around friends after being in the weird Star Wars past for years.
You're in a safe place.
Yes.
Everybody said, my friends take great pleasure in telling me, I've never watched Star Wars. Your loss. You know, if I was you, I'd want to be me too. To quote the latest song that my daughter's listening to. Yes.
I handmade annual prisoner costumes and they were featured on Anderson's Instagram.
One way out. One way out. Well done. Anybody else want to share a memory? Come on, my gate boy.
Well, behind there is, yeah.
Yeah, go for that one, and then we'll go for this one. Go for it, Andrew.
Okay. So I was lucky enough to get picked for the Rose Parade back in 2007, I think it was. Go to tell about Lucasfilm and stuff. And all this weekend, I've been bumping into people that I haven't seen for 15 years. And they recognised you. It was just so cool.
It's nice, and it's because we're home, aren't we?
Yeah.
Who else wanted to? Anybody else want to share a memory? Oh, Vicky. Oh dear. Okay, it's totally unlicensed, and it's called Cards Against Star Wars. Don't play it with your 14-year-old child and your 13-year-old.
I came in and saw them sitting there playing it. I had a good laugh as well.
It's very, very rude. Yeah. But it's great. It is really funny. You'll find us playing it tonight at the pub again. We are overwhelmed,
yes.
aren't we? Right?
I'm going to take this with me as the big memory because
I am
we are so happy that you've been here and we never thought it. First of all, we get the big...
We got the big room, and we were just like going, oh no, there's going to be Marcus, Andrew, Brian, Paul and Mark and Carl, and that's going to be it. This is the memory I'm going to take away. So can we just all have a big group hug? And for those people who don't know and haven't listened, but I hope you're going to listen now to our podcast, every episode we sign off with this little signature note, don't we? So
that we still haven't gotten quite.
Oh, we still. I mean, after 4 years, you'd think we'd have to say this together at the same time, wouldn't you? So can we all say it together, if that's all right? 1, 2, 3. We love you. You know. Thanks ever so much for coming to Planet Leia. We've had a great time.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's Making Tracks.